After a fight, the squirrel with a body full of severe injuries just sat on the subway seat and quietly waited until he met his lover. When he hurriedly ran to his lover in time, he told his lover to get into the car first and then put her belongings in the car, thinking that he could run away with her this time. A stranger came in front of the squirrel and stabbed him with a knife. The injured body kept falling in front of the regret even though he knew that he would eventually come out of this mess. Back to a time ago. When the squirrel was still participating in a poetry class, he himself was the eldest of a gangster, but he was very fond of poetry since he was a child. His poetry makes the skin extremely strong and naked. Even the way to use the knife was described by him in a rough way, such as cutting and stabbing, swirling, tearing, and then turning over. The poem describes a person being stabbed to the point of bleeding. The poems are so real that they seem to be describing an incident that makes everyone feel a little useless but cannot be recognized as SOCtron's poetry. Even the teacher had to praise his good poetry and was extremely touching until he left. Other classmates in the class also began to be curious about the identity of the squirrel. A new uncle revealed the identity of SOCtron, which surprised his classmate immensely. As soon as he came out the door, the squirrel received a phone call about the scuffle in Zhongjong Ward. The squirrel didn't want to pay much attention when the police friend said, "I was coming to your house not knowing what was going on." Mr. SOCtron called. He also reported that he was bringing the chairman and the dog to the house. "I just finished writing poetry, but I didn't know what was going on at home, so I had to gather so many gangsters." There were also police, so SOCtron decided not to go to the office anymore but to his house. At the squirrel's house, his parents are an old couple who look like very ordinary old people with the life of a husband-in-law raising fish. But in fact, he is a long-retired gangster. SOCtron called to ask his father what was wrong, and he said, the hairy nephews kept making their father stand in the middle to reconcile them. That's why they even made a complaint to send to the police station. After speaking, he began to slap his beauty, waiting for those troublesome nephews to come here and sit at the tea table. The squirrel's father watched the video of these two nephews dragging people to disrupt each other in front of a nightclub in Zhongjong Ward 2 days ago. It is a case related to gangs together, so the police are also quite a headache, wanting to ask him to reconcile these innocent nephews. Fortunately, no civilians were injured, and the police had already persecuted the boys. When the squirrel came home, he only saw his friend bullying the junior, and the squirrel asked if the other people had gone inside. The two people who had just come out of the back of the house chatted with each other. SOCtron told his friend not to smoke before the common ones. Otherwise my mother would beat him. He wondered why the police brought the other people to his house. He only knew that it was the order of the head of the department, but he didn't know the reason. However, the situation was also tense when his best friend, who was a boy, was now a policeman. And the squirrel was a boy who only wanted to write poetry but now became a boy. It is true that life looks extremely ironic. The squirrel asked if it would be better to change it now inside the house. The squirrel series began to talk about the fact that brothers in the house should never be next to vegetables and neck each other. It should have been a precious piece, but why would they go to fight like this? He wanted the two guys to get up and apologize and shake hands, but neither of them would take it. He told me to get up and help you catch them. Then the two guys will make a fire. I'm sorry. He was satisfied that this matter ended here after the two nephews were fired. Daisy also stopped by to visit his brother at this time. Tell the other two guys to pay attention to it in the future. Don't make my big brother tired. I'm not tired of gangsters. A little later, the squirrel brought things to the car for his mother when he received news that there was a debt medicine note sent by the bank. SOCtron also has an older sister named SOCjung. A genuine leopard borrows from a bank with high interest, and the amount that the squirrel family currently has to pay is up to 368 million won. Thanks to her sister, the squirrel family is about to have to go out to live. I wonder who heard the call from SOCtron Bank and asked my father what was wrong. Dad said that I would take care of this myself, but I didn't have to care. This matter has been taken care of by my father's junior. SOCtron is currently wanting to quit his job in the company area where he is working, so he went to find the manager of his company and asked for leave. Each of these companies is not an ordinary company when squirrels want to take a break. He had to do a task, which was to clean up the third area so that he could get a construction contract there. Because if the squirrel continues to rest, this brother doesn't know what to say to the chairman. After coming to quit his job, SOCtron brought a pile of kimchi made by his mother to deliver to SOC his sister at the hospital. The younger brother kept complaining about leaving kimchi in the car would smell bad. But the squirrel didn't care. I don't know what blessings there are, but I have to bring kimchi to my sister. Waiting for the squirrel's sister to suddenly meet again, each of her first loves is also visiting the academy to play. The two looked at each other but looked extremely happy and warm. After sitting down with her sister, SOC Hai introduced her friend to her brother. But it seemed that the two knew each other before. After asking her best friend, she only said that the two of them had also met occasionally, but it wasn't much. SOC Hai has just introduced that currently Mahjong is a celebrity. Just go singing, but there are also students from other schools who come to watch. I thought I was an idol. She also took out a YouTube channel called Mahjong's Small Room to show her brother. Up to 1,000 people registered to cheat. The brother liked to drop his heart continuously, making her friend Mahjong extremely embarrassed. Suddenly, the atmosphere of the two looked a little tense, making the two of them feel like they were having something. When he got home, the squirrel also played some of Mahjong's songs again to listen to and remembered when he was in high school, when I was always able to sit with my first girlfriend and listen to her sing. At that time, the squirrel was confessed by this friend and given a book just because he heard that the squirrel liked books. But because once Mahjong had his own story, the two also had to be apart for a long time because of that. When he came home in the evening, the squirrel was still looking at his first love and laughing silently until he took out the book that his first love gave him. Before he had time to read each sin, he came to ask him if he could sleep with him. Sleeping with him because he was afraid of ghosts, he stopped working his thoughts so that his nephew would fall in love with his future. It's true that you're really good at it. The grandson asked his mother to be prettier, and then asked him if he hadn't found his mother yet. The squirrel's sister didn't know where she had left since she finished borrowing money, leaving only this grandchild for the squirrel's house to raise. Mahjong is currently having an opportunity to record a song. However, she felt extremely stressed when facing many people in front of her, after the audition was detained. Mahjong was told that to be a singer, you must have the courage to face many people. Because it had been a long time since he met his first love, he came to see his younger brother to ask about Mahjong. SOC Hai glanced at it and knew that his brother was trying to ask for Mahjong's phone number. It's true that only I understand this guy's heart. SOC she knew that his brother had a crush on him, but still did not give SOC Mahjong's phone number. Talking about how she recently came to find me just for money. It seems that since the transfer of schools in the past, Mahjong family has had some difficulties. Hearing that Mahjong needed money, SOC Tron was even more curious about the reason why she changed schools in the past. I wanted to ask my younger brother more about my first love, but he ignored me. Without saying any more words, he went to work again, and suddenly Mahjong took the initiative to press the news to the squirrel. It was a pleasure to meet him and apologize for not greeting him properly last time. It's true that there is no need to search, but the person you want to find comes to find yourself. This brother has been waiting for too long, and then we will meet in a while. Come on, the two of them made an appointment to meet, so everyone laughed and had a lot of fun. After arriving at the cafe, the squirrel looked at it and saw that she was working part-time here. Mahjong also has to admit that the squirrel looks more mature than before. After Mahjong finished her work, the two went out to the park to sit and talk about the incident that year when she had to leave and left SOC Tron alone. Even though he left without saying a word, Mahjong admitted that he always thought of the squirrel. Kind of curious to know how he lives or if he will see him again one day. SOC Tron admitted that he also had the exact same thoughts. Fortunately, both of them had the opportunity to meet again here. Mahjong shared that she always wanted to do what she liked, but still couldn't succeed. SOC Tron asked about Mahjong's audition. She said she had failed because she couldn't sing in front of others. Because every time I am in front of someone, Mahjong is afraid. The surroundings seemed to be dark just because she felt that she didn't have enough courage. Anyway, I'm used to it. Now that I have something to do, I should ask for permission to go first. Having the opportunity to express himself, he invited Mahjong to get on his car, so that she wouldn't have to take the bus. The feeling of sitting in a car and roaring like this feels like traveling. The squirrel also likes to sit alone. And now that there is someone sitting next to him like this, he really likes it. SOC Tron wants to go with Mahjong like this more. The place where the two of them came was the nursing home. Mahjong told me that her mother's health was not good, so she had to bring her here. By the way, I came here and asked for my permission to visit her mother. After going inside, he introduced himself to Mahjong's mother. She told me about the squirrel. When her mother used to sell corn needles, he often came to play there. She realized that he was the broom in her house at that time. This makes squirrels a little shy when they meet acquaintances and are called brooms. At that time, Mahjong's mother took a broom and chased the squirrel, so he had such a girl nickname. Suddenly she turned around and cried with her daughter. I don't want to be here because it's scary here. After ironing her mother, Mahjong and Soctron took her mother to the place where she was playing the piano and left. But so that Mahjong can get rid of the fear of singing in front of the crowd, Soctron came up with a way to take this opportunity for her to play the piano and perform in front of everyone at the nursing home. Soctron specially announced in front of everyone that today he invited a female singer. She's about to become the most popular singer in Korea. Seeing the squirrel pleading and encouraging like this, Mahjong just started to take all her courage and started playing a piece of music. The fear of laughing began to appear in her mind again. The jokes, bullying, and taking photos that year always made Mahjong scared and could not continue playing. However, she still mustered up all her courage and began to sing tremblingly. The squirrel was satisfied, and so was her mother. Seeing that her daughter could comfortably show it, she couldn't help but start crying. Meanwhile at the hospital, a patient named Go Rong Neum came to see a doctor to examine his life. After looking at this person, I immediately knew that she was a very close friend of my sister. She asked Ms. Go if she used to sit in a row for a long time, right? She just wondered who this nurse was. She introduced herself as Soc Hai, the younger sister of Soc Ki-ung. My best friend was in high school, and she just met an evil god like that. She must hate this sister very much. So she pushed the car a little fast. Because he is a close friend of Soc Ki-ung, he hates his sister, so he wants to ask the enemy's self where his sister is. She threatened that if she didn't reveal any information, she would hand over this sister to her barehead brother. In the evening after bringing my teeth home, Soc's younger brother called Soctron and asked him if he knew that she was going. That squirrel sister's friend. I heard that she knew that it was a sister who was addicted to silver doors. She said that he was inquiring to find out the whereabouts of Soc Kai-ung's sister. Hearing this, the squirrel immediately drove to his sister. After picking up the younger brother, she asked his brother if it was okay for the two of them to go. Soctron said that as long as you are here, you can get rid of that casino. Arriving at the place, she said that there was a security guard sitting in the car in the basement. But what about the bears inside you? Soctron immediately asked his children to lure the guy in the car out so that he could rush in while he arrived at the long-haired guard. She asked me to be invited by my sister. She will come later and I will come in first. This name thought she was very coveted, so she also led Soc inside. As soon as he arrived at the door, the squirrel rushed over. Lead him to tell him that two people will come down to play right now, so when the girl bird sings. Sister Soc Kyung was taken back by her two younger siblings. The two brothers looked gentle and obedient, and the sister couldn't leave the silver door. The bald bear didn't want his casino to be destroyed, so he stood up to stop the squirrel. The landlady here keeps calling Ms. Soc Kai-ung an ashtray, making her sister go crazy. The two of them just rushed at each other, pulling their hair and pulling their ears. The squirrel brother also did not sit still, but began to deal with the bears here. I'm gonna turn over you, bastard. The other lady was so angry that she threw the ashtray at the squirrel. She shouted, surely you don't know what the Soc family is like. I saw my sister being pressed down on the table by the old woman. The squirrel's sister got mad and flew straight over. Using the attack technique, the mean old woman who harmed her sister kept falling. Suddenly, her husband was cool with each other. After completing a first attack, the squirrel led his sisters to quickly run out, locked the door and threw the key right in front of the door. That's how the gangsters are bitterly red. She said that thanks to her, these two younger siblings can experience a slightly happier life. Arriving at Ms. Soc Kyung's house, the squirrel made her pack up and quickly went home. But at home, what kind of demolition is 368 million yuan? It's good. Sister Soc, she saw a shirt that looked like a child's shirt and asked her what this thing was. She just told me that it was her son's shirt. Every time I am sad, I put it on my face and remember my child to relieve pressure in life. Although she wants to review her child every night, now that she is so far away like this, she doesn't know how to behave anymore. If we talk about causing trouble, the squirrel is even more powerful than the squirrel. Ms. Soc Kai-ung used to be a hairstylist and suddenly became pregnant. But happiness only lasted exactly 1 short year, when she and her husband divorced due to her brother-in-law's affair. Not only did she not get alimony, but she also had to compensate for the fee and become single. And to relieve that feeling of loneliness, she went to gamble to relieve herself. Currently, Ms. Soc Kyung also does not dare to go home because her father will beat her. There is only a way to stay at the house of the youngest sister Soc Hai. The next day when he woke up, The squirrel received a notification that she had risen from his mahjong, and he was extremely happy. Receiving the news that she wished you to go to the mahjong also couldn't help but be secretly happy like him. Carrying a happy mood out for breakfast, the squirrel asked his grandson if he wanted his mother to come here. "I will bring my mother back to me, but you have to keep it a secret from your grandparents." The grandson was extremely obedient and scratched his head. And the squirrel sister, who slept too much, did not want to get up. But when she heard her younger brother calling out to eat, she got up. Each sin in the house has its own dish that makes the sister keep babbling. Then criticized the food for being too sugary. She ignored me. It's good to eat and then start teaching. Ask me, shouldn't I just leave my child at home dry and go to school by myself without a father like that? I also want to take my child by the hand to school. But she was afraid that her father would give her a spanking and run the fastest in the house. How could she face her father's whips? I was eating when the gambling debtors called. SOC, she advised her sister not to listen, but she still tried to listen. So the squirrel snatched the phone. "Tell those debtors to gamble, it is considered a loss. Try to touch my sister, I'm gonna give you guys a happy handshake." Ms. SOC Kai was extremely shocked when she saw that her sister's beak was also not in the right shape. The squirrel sister muttered to herself to see if she would hit the other. SOC Kai cried out that not everyone is as stubborn as your sister but can bump into others. The head had to be hard and afraid of his father to hit it. But I tried to knock my head with my brother's head. Seeing that it is also stiff, it must be able to use the attack head. The sisters of this family are funny. And the squirrel John on this side is with the team to handle Zone 3. Just try to acquire this area, the company will have compensation of all kinds. However, the leader in this place is the chairman of the Tenant Housing Policy Committee. As long as you catch that guy, Zone 3 will be finished in the blink of an eye. When John Squirrel and his gangsters arrived at the 3rd Ward, at this time, the police are preventing people from opposing the forced demolition of this residential area because of the project to build his car. When he arrived, the squirrel told the juniors not to make things tense. "I can just go inside alone." After arriving at the police, Squirrel John introduced himself as someone from the construction company My Ong San. John's best friend just asked if he was going to quit his job. "But what else are you here to do?" This was the last thing Squirrel John had to do to quit his job. He only knew that this was the last case. After Squirrel John met with the head to negotiate, the head of the phone called Gypsy these days was also polite, right? Squirrel John just said that it was negotiation, not intimidation. The other leader still didn't have the slightest interest in the words of the gypsies like a squirrel. After returning with the juniors, Squirrel told a guy to go back to the 3rd Ward right after lunch in case the police fought. The chairman there is not the right type, so be careful. The gangster's brother, Chong Su, after learning that the Squirrel John was in charge of this business, immediately called a junior to come. Take the opportunity to deal with the bastard. Last time he had to make peace, but in his heart he still didn't want to be a brother to the stupid guy at all. Ms. SOC John currently has nothing to do, so she only knows how to eat, sleep, and rest at SOC his house. She also often calls her to see if her sister is hiding anywhere. Now that I'm out and the creditor is forced to go home, my father beats me, I don't know where to go. Determining that his sister was okay, SOC Hai went to see his lover, Dr. Zhang, to invite him out for lunch. She told her lover that she would take me home soon, so please wait a little longer. While they were in love, a customer stopped by and made the two let go of each other's hands. The patient's mother came here to thank Dr. Zhang for treating her daughter's herniated disc very well last time. By the way, she brought her second daughter to introduce her, who had just returned from the United States and had no lover. I don't know if it is possible to make a matchmaking with Dr. Zhang, who is both good and handsome. Dr. Jiang Damfuo for a while looked at SOC Shi and looked at the person in front of him. After that, he said that he was still single, joking with the death of the house, Uncle Squirrel that he was about to finish, Brother Jiang. Mi Jiang currently continues to work a part-time job at a restaurant just to be able to earn enough money for her mother. The nursing home kept sending messages to ask her to pay the fee. It makes my eyelashes unable to rest my hands even a little. Suddenly there was an advertisement that being a first-prize singer would have money. Mi Jiang recalled how she had been encouraged by Squirrel John so that she could comfortably perform in front of everyone in the nursing home. She will probably also plan to register for this contest. In the afternoon, Sang John led a gang of gangsters to the 3rd Ward to squeeze people into renting houses. Hearing the information, the squirrel immediately arrived. The reporter was also waiting here beforehand. He hurried inside and asked him to go to John. "Just leave this to me." He shouted at his brother, "Just doing this, it would ruin everything." As soon as he finished speaking, the chairman in charge of this area began to pour gasoline to chase away the gangsters. He was so crazy that he poured gasoline on himself. But what he didn't expect was that his daughter appeared and called Daddy. Daddy. He just put down the other lighter, but he also shouted to stop coercing this third area. To be able to break the door lock to find the owner of this area, SOC John had to rely on his brother Duchesne, who had gone to prison for breaking the lock on other people's houses many times. Take it with you to break the door lock. Took a while for the jar to unlock the door. SOC John told the boys to wait outside for him. After going inside, Squirrel John met the leader here sitting and drinking. He wondered why he had come in. Squirrel John said he just walked up and wanted to drag this guy away. But he didn't go away, but he also took out the squirrel. The other chairman began to take off his shirt and asked John if he ever knew the nickname of the Mad Eye of the John Sign Gang. The Mad Eye wanted to try to anoint the fists of the gypsies like a squirrel. He rushed to punch but couldn't punch a single shot. And he was given by Squirrel John, but he didn't know anything. He immediately finished playing and was punched back by him in an extremely painful shot. He continued to rush into a fight with the Squirrel John and accidentally spilled the gas can. The police and the senior John outside blame each other. If what happens to that Squirrel John, he knows what to say to the current president. But the name of the chairman inside could not touch a single hair. Being punched by a squirrel, and many people laughed madly. He felt that he could not win, so he resorted to dirty schemes. Pulling out the lighter as a squirrel, John didn't think much and shot it. Every can of gasoline had been spilled, so Squirrel John wanted to drag him out. The people outside found it difficult and ran inside to see what the situation was. The chairman in it urged John not to die and leave here. He didn't want to hear because his daughter was still alive. He had to leave here alive. After pulling the chairman out, the scene of squirrels saving people suddenly became a hot headline on the front page of the newspaper. The father was so proud that he sat in front of his grandfather and told him that his grandson was famous for saving people from the crowd. The right life for the role of no sin, the squirrel and the right suddenly made the name of the ancestor in a righteous way. Even SOC John was shocked when he learned that he was in the newspaper asking for help from suicide. It's true that he made these two old grandparents bloom. His mother, on the other hand, kept talking about his father's life as a child. It was only in his life that he came up with a little ancestral name. After eating, Sock chose to bring the fruit to the chairman the day before to ask if he was okay. He even invited people to eat coffee candy without saying a word, but fortunately he saved the chairman. He changed his mind because the son wanted to thank Sock-chan for saving her father. He said that he had heard it, so he just left. The fact that he was about to quit as the First Army made this chairman quite surprised. But as someone who had made up his mind like Sock-chan, he only advised him to be determined to quit being that bear's head. Don't be thrown away like the chairman and have to lie here. Sock was chosen because of his good expression and risking his life. He was also honored by his gangster brother for his extremely excellent performance to clear the other house. Because the congratulatory ceremony was the chairman's presentation of bonuses, he always happily accepted the money in front of the boys. Attached to it was an extremely expensive watch that made the juniors below extremely excited and cheered. The barehead chairman was numb on this side because he couldn't occupy that third area. He felt extremely frustrated that the gentleman had such a pretentiousness by his side to help. But if you have to pay the piece. The ministry was pretentious because of his daughter's case of borrowing money from the bank. He went directly to the bank director to try to negotiate whether there was a way to extend the repayment period further. The bank director also told the chairman that if it was extended for another 5 years, it would be fine. But first you have to pay part of the principal before you can get an extension. Otherwise, the appraisal office of the main owner will find it difficult to approve the loan extension of the Sok-kyung-ung. At least 70 million principal must be repaid to be extended. The chairman's friend got mad. If he needed 70 million, he should have said it in advance. The chairman couldn't hold back anymore, but stood up with an extremely serious face, which made the bank director a little scared. He asked when I would have to pay. The bank director originally planned to spend 2 weeks looking scary to see the chairman's face. He immediately gave the deadline within 1 month to pay it off. But as soon as he went out, the employee spilled coffee on the chairman. It's true that when he is cool, his face is distorted. Tired of borrowing money, he was unhappy and miserable because of black thighs. The younger brother asked if he could take care of it. Otherwise, you can sell your house to pay off debts. It's true that the brothers pass the cord differently, but the president doesn't need to touch other people's homes. Lu Shui walked home alone and looked at his wife and grandson in the yard playing. He also didn't know if he had any nose to look at his wife and grandchildren. After finishing work, SOC Roy immediately told his brother that he had said in advance that he would quit his job. Looking at his grandfather's face, he saw that it was not very feasible to give the squirrel a break. However, I still have to accept it because the round squirrel face is extremely serious. Chairman Ti-hun on this side is going to drink, negotiating with his friend about a business related to the chairman of Changsu. Just accept the teacher to overthrow him. This person saw that Ti-hun really did not use tricks to overthrow Changsu. After deciding to participate in the reading session, she went to the registration place and asked the manager here if she could go sightseeing a little. Seeing everyone on stage confidently performing, the roasted eyelashes looked extremely nervous, wondering if there was any more fear. On the side of the current round squirrel, suddenly the junior led a group of high school boys to introduce him to the round squirrel. A guy who stood up and introduced himself alone had already cleaned up all the other bears in the area. The round squirrel called these people again and asked if anyone knew Mr. Kim Gu. None of the evil people knew that name. The round squirrel cried out that it was not the teacher at the school, but the person who fought to regain the country when it was occupied. I took these guys to the library and took his book. Read from beginning to end and then write an article to bring it here. Although he was not very committed, he was a big man, so the juniors listened to the armor. In return, the squirrel wanted these people to give up. Then he told the junior to lead guys like this to his face again. His teeth and lips were mixed up to listen to him. Suddenly, the chairman came here to meet Jiang Su. But the squirrel was curious and asked his father what he was doing. Then pulling him aside, the juniors also knew what they meant to pull each other out. He asked if his father came here for money. Will he be able to repay the loan here? The round squirrel didn't want to be a child, but he forced him. He had been frustrated about this for a long time, and now he even had to find these guys to borrow money. When the junior saw the father and son here like this, he warmly invited both of them inside, but the squirrel didn't want to see the scene of borrowing money from his father. He hated the fact that his father had been a barehead and had a gangster reputation, to the point of remembering the scene when I was in high school when I was brought in front of the name of the pageant. He took his money and brought it back to his mother. But that was the money that the name of the page should have paid to the father of the round squirrel. But he wanted Jiang Su to send it to him because that would make him feel more relieved, who had been a famous celebrity and had to come here to borrow money. The round squirrel couldn't help but feel humiliated when he was despised by others while his father was the leader of these people. Fortunately, when he met the man, the squirrel's father did not borrow money from him as he wished. Instead, he asked the clerk to take care of his son on his behalf. I saw that my seniors in the old days had all their clothes dirty because they were stained with coffee when they were kissed before. Trang Su took out an envelope as if to show her sincerity, telling the chairman to use this money to buy a new set of clothes and eat something delicious. But he flatly refused and ran home, to the surprise of Sohee's sister at home, who was extremely sad to confide in her sister. Just because her lover told others in front of her that she didn't have a lover, she only had encouragement, but encouragement seemed to be close to her sister's pain. SOC Hai just ran into the room sadly, hugging the pillow, looking extremely pitiful from the time of the encouragement and help of the round squirrel. Trang Su was a little more confident than before, but the round squirrel felt much lighter. Because the squirrel didn't come home yesterday, his mother was worried about asking her husband, but he didn't know. She just called to ask his son to stay in the sauna because he had work, so she always asked about her sister's news. She must have known that the revenge daughter had been brought back by the two brothers, and she had to go to the bones of this eldest child. What a selfish lifestyle. Leave the whole child to stay for these two old grandparents. When the squirrel came to the company, the brother asked the squirrel through his father, "Did he come here?" I wonder why the uncle knows that the squirrel asked if he did anything else besides coming here. My grandfather just pulled out a book of money to tell you that he wanted to give you this thing, and asked him to buy him some new clothes to wear. But the round squirrel did not accept it, and told him to return it to the porcelain, so did his grandfather. And his father was sitting with his brother Daisy, talking about the old days when the squirrel was still in school. He always met him with a face full of blood. At that time he was still a gypsy, but the round squirrel didn't want his father to have to be involved in those things. Now that he remembered that he had grown up in the squirrel, he didn't know if he had the courage to sit and talk to his son. Daisy advised that if you have a chance, just sit in front of him and talk to him frankly. The squirrel sister cried out to him because he was locked in his sister's house for a while and couldn't stand it anymore. So he put on a disguise and secretly ran out to meet his child. Seeing that her son was still playing and growing up healthy, only being injected with one shot, the sister acted like she was the one who caught the corner. On the way back, the sister still followed her as a son who thought she was her mother. Immediately turned the car to chase, causing the squirrel to run on 3 legs and 4 legs as if chased by a ghost. Every time the crime comes to a certain point, the son is in danger, so SOC Kyung stops the boy. Hong Gun asked her if she was my mother. Why did she know her name, and burst into tears. He wanted to hide his son very much, but the squirrel was extremely weak. I miss you very much, but don't let your grandparents know that you are here. Instead of going home, my grandparents broke my mother's leg. It is true that he has the courage to go out, but he does not have the courage to take the blow. When he returned home, his son did not forget to say goodbye to his mother. Meanwhile, SOC Chan is surveying a new construction site with seniors in the company. It can be said that this area, if eaten and made, must also get 3 times the profit of the third area that the squirrel had to come to solve last time. Knowing that the profit of this area is also greater, SOC chose to ask his brother if he could lend money. What do you think? This is simple. But when he heard the figure of 100 million won, he wondered, what do you do that you need so much money? SOC Chan couldn't say that he could use the money to pay off her debt, so he just said it was a private matter. And the squirrel sister on this side is still angry with her lover. As soon as he finished examining the patient, he still tried to explain in front of his loyal customers, but she brought her daughter with her. Di Hong said only to be able to retain customers, so he had to say that he was single. Just listening to it is knowing the words of the male fathers. SOC she was angry and cried out for a while. He walked on his own and he gasped a lot. Annoyed by the name of her lover, SOC Hai went to forbid a patient's sister from playing flower cards. Outside the hospital gate, Mrs. Trung secretly led 2 juniors, one without hair and the other with full hair, to come here to deceive. They came to see the lady and asked where the squirrel was. Then forced her to be discharged from the hospital while the nurse tried to stop her. But because she was a gangster, the nurse friend hurriedly ran outside to call SOC Hai to come and saw that these people were making a mess in the hospital. That old lady with a crooked neck must have not eaten her head last time and was not full of blows. Now he also brought 2 juniors with him, and they also realized that in front of him was the little one who broke his grandmother's neck. SOC his lover's brother heard the noise, so he went out to watch, seeing the first child in front of him in the form of a lover's protector. If you haven't had time to do anything, you will be cornered like a child. But the name of the first person who is bored with life touches who does not touch. Immediately touching the squirrel sister with a stiff head. She still hit these 2 straight ones to go to the trauma department to straighten her face. The other aunt remembered the scene where she was also slapped once, so she was scared. The security guard was also quickly present here to quell the disturbance, dragging the other 3 bareheaded men away. After a while, SOC Hai sat down with her lover. Hong Ji asked if it hurt a lot of pain for her grandmother to put her head on people. But now that she tried her head, Hong Ji also had to admit that the squirrel's head was as hard as a stone. SOC Hai still tried to hold on, telling Hong Ji not to have fire. He softly asked the director's daughter how to be as good as a squirrel. She was made to trust him more by these secret words. The squirrel's brother went to the chairman and told him that the squirrel's brother was in need of money. He was curious about how much money the squirrel was going to borrow. He didn't think much of it, so he told me to just give him 100 million. I can't let squirrels run like that crazy guy. Because of the money, he could leave. Chong Su didn't want the squirrel to betray him like the junior who worked with his father before. Meanwhile, the other guy received news from his juniors that all the goods had been prepared. He curiously asked if he should deal with the squirrel as well. Ti-hun forced the junior to only do what he was told. But thinking about the squirrel also couldn't help but make Ti-hun think a little. Previously, during his sister's funeral, the squirrel brother stopped by to visit and comfort this brother. But he hated him very much. Only because at that time Ti-hun needed 30 million yuan to operate on his sister. Chong Su did not lend it. So the conflict between the two at this time began to grow bigger. As for the amount of money he wanted to visit, he didn't need to take a penny because if these people really loved him, he had lent him 30 million yuan to save his sister, not waiting for his death to come here to visit like this. In the end, only the squirrel remained, saying that you were doing a good job. If you feel relieved, just do it. Seeing that my brother was still by my side until the end, I felt very grateful. Basically, because he also loves SOC his sister, SOC Tron also did the same thing. Ti-hun wanted to quit this profession, wanted to follow him, but at that time it was an extremely difficult choice for squirrels. Soctron, after calling his brother back, he received the news that he had lent 100 million, and he immediately hung up the phone. When he saw that this brother heard about the money, he didn't even bother to listen to his phone. Mi Rang was in a longitudinal audition at a small bar. The judges were a little difficult when they wanted her to sit on the podium while singing, but Mi Rang wanted to sing more. At first, it was difficult, but after hearing the roasted eyelashes sing, the attitude of him and everyone in the room suddenly changed completely. Every crime until the end, he was still difficult to call the next person, causing conflicts in the jury to arise only because he judged too one-sidedly. Preventing the name of the head of the poke is the manager here directly remove the roasted eyelashes from here. After going out, Mi Rang curiously asked others to sing the wrong note, but she was accepted while she did quite well. He immediately criticized her for being like a black person. Then, without letting her explain or have a chance, she just kicked the roasted eyelashes out. Then she only had a job at the coffee shop. Meet squirrels and talk about their upcoming dreams. Earning a lot of money to bring my mother home from the nursing home. Mi Rang also sadly told the squirrel, "This time I am more confident than the last time." But going to the audition was also a failure. The reason is simple. He will only recruit people who have money or umbrellas to come here. So no matter how talented Mi Rang was, he wouldn't accept it. In order to be able to help with the roasted eyelashes, the squirrel asked her where she auditioned. Then I started calling the juniors to ask about the location of the theater. The juniors called that place the territory of the Num. And the owner of that restaurant is Tae-hun's cousin, who is the biggest and most crowded in this area. Not to mention that the singer who sings there has also become famous on the internet. So to see what the situation is, Soctron went to that theater and negotiated with the manager of this place to allow Mi Rang to show his ability again in front of him. The squirrel showed his sincerity and a little bit of encouragement to him. He needed something to smear his feet, he just needed a sheet. The squirrel couldn't hear clearly, and asked him how much it would take to be able to apply the foot to the inner circle. As he approached, he prevented his head from being stuck on the table like an open door. It turns out that you accepted a bribe to smear your feet so that someone else could let in and roast your eyelashes. Fortunately, there was another senior who came here, and this manager was scared and shy away from her. There must be this long-haired spring name that allows the other manager to immediately listen to the armor confinement and directly roast the beans. The squirrel curiously asked her if she could sing or not. The new manager honestly spoke the best of the people here. Well, the conversation was over, so the squirrel was about to leave. The junior wanted to review the story a little, but the squirrel still didn't want to. Just like that, it is also convenient to sing at the famous theater Nirvana. Directly received the harm to sing at 7 p.m. today. Mixed the squirrel after helping the noodles finish roasting. He went to see his friends to relieve a little. Then revealed that he had a girlfriend recently. These guys stuck their faces out. I don't know how the two of them can meet again. Squirrels talk about roasted eyelashes that look extremely excited. And she is about to become a celebrity. Suddenly, the squirrel received a phone call from Mi Rang. She excitedly told about how she was accepted to sing in Nirvana. Ask if the squirrel can come today. From the moment I had him by my side, it felt like everything was going well. So I came. Soctron followed Mi Rang's promise and went to the theater to wait for her to perform. The sound of the piano began to sound. Her beauty and gentle melodious lyrics quickly captured the soul of the squirrel. Looking around, not only him but also other people were attracted to her. It's true that I don't support your support. Meanwhile, the chairman of the mansion on this side took a pile of money and went to meet the head of the abandoned department, prepare to discuss some business. But when they were about to eat and drink, suddenly some unknown people just walked into the room. The squirrel's brother immediately called the police who wanted to search the office. Now I have to run first, are not understanding what is happening. The brother went to Zion to call, telling Soctron that he and the chairman were at the police station to talk. Coincidentally, he was at this bar. He realized that the person playing the piano outside was the girl he had met before at his shop. Ti-hun just went out to the lobby to enjoy and asked the manager's name what this girl's name was. It must be said that her voice has something that attracts people's hearts, not someone who should be in a place like this. Meanwhile, the squirrel rushed to the police station. The chairman of the mansion was arrested again for crimes related to Mai Tui, and it was as if the police had found a quantity in the trunk of Trang Su's car. Finding my Twee and calling the police was due to a bad joke. But Mr. Sang-John didn't know how to handle this case because he didn't know who hid my Twee in the car. SOC Tron said he would investigate. After enjoying the singing of Mi Rang, T-Hun couldn't help but shake and called the name of the junior. Tell him to put the money in an envelope and give it to her. By the way, she doesn't have different working hours after her shift. The manager directly handed me the roasted envelope in the form prepared in advance. Complimenting her for her hard work, the chairman specially gave it to her. However, there is one thing that she should know: the chairman wants to go to the main stage next time to perform. Not in a corner of this small theater anymore. Mi Rang couldn't help but hide her happy emotions when she heard that. Calling the squirrel to tell him that she did a good job today, and she was no longer afraid to sing in front of everyone. This news was indeed too good for the squirrel. He didn't even forget to tell her to go home carefully. Then talk to me later. After returning home, SOC Tron spoke bluntly to his father, telling him that he would quit his job as a security guard like this. Seeing that Dad didn't say anything, the squirrel wondered if Dad couldn't say a break was right. It's hard work. It's true that the relationship between father and son since catching squirrels as Bear's Head has never been really good. The next day, my father's disciple came to the house to see that the faucet was broken. Seeing that his face looked happier than ever, Daisy asked our brother the number. If he liked the squirrel to leave that area so much, he should have said it earlier. He was just afraid that he was not qualified to say that to his son. Fortunately, he had also quit his career as a soldier, so he was less worried. Mr. Daisy wondered what he was doing now that he had quit his job. He didn't care. As long as you don't get entangled in the first piece anymore, it's fun. Before taking a break, SOC Tron was still tasked with finding out why there was my Twee in Chanx's car. As soon as he went outside, he immediately got entangled with the high school student in front of the junior's name. He actually read dozens of pages of the song and wrote his feelings about Mr. Kim Gu, then hand it over to the squirrel. This guy believes that if he really does it, he will be accepted as a junior. The squirrel asked him if he was good at studying. Then he made this dick to achieve 10 good grades in school. It is possible that he will consider it, but in fact, it is difficult for this brother to know. Meanwhile, at SOC his house, Ms. SOC Kyung was sleeping when there was a knock on the door outside. She immediately ran outside because the call outside seemed urgent. SOC Kyung anxiously asked who the outsider was. People outside asked me to know a lot about you. Thought that debt collection came. The one who used to consider her as her first love. For the sake of the squirrel's friend, Ms. SOC Kyung was also curious if she was really this brother's first love. Now that Ms. SOC Kyung is a mother, this brother still likes it. Mr. Su didn't think he could be so loyal. Knowing that she was in difficulty, this brother took the opportunity to ask her, "If you help me with a problem, please meet one of my requests." Just like that, the younger brother shook hands with the squirrel. "Drink the whole glass of water and just leave." Sister SOC Kyung didn't understand what was wrong with this guy, but why his heart was beating so fast. From the time he was assigned to the crime of using my Twee, Tae-hun was extremely happy because the opponent he hated had to go to the cave. Now Tae-hun is trying to get the other third area back. Tae-hun's juniors had just come out the door. The goat junior was chased away first, and the cough was held back by this elder brother. He asked him coughingly before doing anything, and then said a sentence to him. So no matter what the chairman says, he has to tell this guy first. Just when the squirrel called, the younger brother said that he was busy now, so he couldn't answer SOC Tron right away. And the chairman of Tae-hun has found out information about the girl Mai-jong in the theater. It felt like she had secretly liked this simple girl. Because she has money from the theater, Mai-jong can also pay off her best friend's debt. By the way, SOC Hai was curious to know if these two people had resumed their old love or not. SOC she suddenly returned to the old story. It is said that since Mai-jong left, it was not SOC Tron who wanted to quit school but was expelled from school. SOC Hai asked Mai-jong if he remembered the long bears. The squirrel came to the school and the bears' heads smashed it and fought wildly, to the point that the ship was sent to run reformatory. Hearing this news, Mai-jong immediately felt a little surprised, because that year she was the one who was bullied by that group of happy people and filmed the video of her stripping. She was so tortured that she didn't dare to go home even though the squirrel was standing at the door waiting. She only realized that he had to quit school because of herself just because he gave the other bears a fight. So Mai-jong immediately called the squirrel, asked him to come out and talk to her privately and tell her things that she didn't know about. What happened to the squirrel after she left? After listening to it, I understood what Mahjong was talking about. Because at that time, the squirrel also ran to Mahjong's house. Looking for her everywhere, Mahjong has also moved away. That's why the squirrel came to the school to make a mess of everything. And the friend was sent to the hospital where SOC High worked. Call her to ask her to help with some things. So SOC High and her lover went to the monitoring room. Watched the video of the last time the bears came to meet and fight with the squirrel. She wondered why this policeman suddenly wanted to arrest this group. Mr. Su called out that from now on all the things related to the squirrel are over, just call him. With this triumphant expression. Mr. Su is looking to get justice for his queen. Not like some doctor. SOC she looked at this brother like his brother. Meanwhile, the squirrel didn't want to stay still. Running out to buy things again, he was recognized by the guy in the casino. So the two of them ran marathons in the neighborhood. But a little squirrel can run like an athlete. It's just a little bit, but it's already lost. T-Huns Jr. came to see the squirrel at this time. Seeing this kind of remorseful expression, the squirrel immediately knew that the other man had done something to the coin. So ignore the little guy who lost his work and didn't say a word to him. Botron wanted to explain and arrange it well. But the squirrel just got on the car and drove away. When I came to T-Hun's company, I wanted to ask how the head and tail were. It's like the little brother who and the other juniors stood in the way and asked when the chairman was your second brother. Just want to come in and talk a little. But these guys just want squirrels to move their hands and feet. You don't want to fight, but you really break your head. Fortunately, both sides appeared. The squirrel wanted to see the chairman for a while, but the guy kept asking to pull out the hot goods. Seeing the squirrel's tense expression, T-Hun asked him to relax his face. The squirrel wanted to apologize to the master and stop this. But how could he ignore that it was Sangsu who kicked him out of the state? T-Hun also loves the squirrel brother. So I invited him out for a bottle and didn't talk about this case anymore. The squirrel didn't want to smoke like this. I just hope that the brother stops. T-Hun told him before he died. His late sister also wanted him to live like a benevolent person. But Trang Su and that crazy guy just wanted to crush T-Hun. Who gave you honesty? So the squirrel went home and talked to his brother to John. Cry out, go make peace with T-Hun. How can the two sides of the faction already hate each other sit at the same table? Suddenly, outside the boys were fighting and fighting. The squirrel immediately called the two brothers who didn't know up and down to the side. When I asked, I found out that this dude kept drinking alcohol to exploit the love of the Yusu. So the squirrel asked Yusu's younger brother to go out first, and the rest of the squirrel was Dusik. But outside, there was another brother carrying some things to meet John. The brother asked where this dick was hiding, and only now did he appear like this. The younger brother gave the bread to John. Ask if the Dusik brother has been causing trouble lately. Thinking that this brother came here to do something, it turned out to be asking for rights. Tell the other side to only let the juniors work for 5 days. My side was working a little too much, and was immediately kicked out by Sang John. Ask your uncle if you like to go to the other side to work, you don't need to come here. It's true that there are no brothers in the soul. The Dusik brother was spanked. Then go to John and tell me to see you gambling again. And what kind of remorse does this look have? Looking at it, he knew he wanted to kill people. Remembering before, Sang John and his brother sat in a corner to admit that it was also a sin. But no one who had the money to give him a shoulder to John decided to take out a little of his own money. Tell the sick to leave the silver door early. Because this interface has finally been revealed. Sang John told him that if he still sees gambling from now on, don't try to see this big guy. The young man came to Sok Chi-Young's house and asked her if she had eaten. But she looked extremely bored. Not wanting to eat anything in his stomach, the bee just said that he was buying food. But he was actually standing downstairs. That Sok Chi-Young, who is now full of gambling, is now worried and asks not to go home in a hurry. Probably to put on makeup and slap herself for the child to come here. The monk accidentally encountered the guy who chased after Sok Chi-Young, and he even walked over to ask the monk if he knew this person. Did the master compliment her for being so beautiful? Or was it only my eyes that saw her beautiful? The man at the casino asked if he knew where this sister was. My uncle met the right person today, remember to send me that photo. The long-haired spring guy just got into the female car and was immediately handcuffed. Find someone. But find your lover. This is finished grinding, son. Miss Sok Chi-Young was just putting on makeup when she received the news that she had to go. I don't know what I'm waiting for? Trang Su, after a period of time, has also been bailed out of the police station. He asked if the two brothers had found out who slandered him for using my tweet. I think it must have been made by the guy who smoked it. Now it's just thinking about how to handle it. Mr. Su, after leading the long-haired spring to the other casino, I heard that you guys here are looking for my first love, right? When asked who it was, he took out his part-time employee card, so these people were not very afraid. Only when he brought out the silver shake did these people know how to be afraid. Mr. Su asked me to do all these things out of love. This heart full of love will give her a chance. From now on, don't contact Sok Chi-young anymore and the guys here anymore. If Sok Chi-young also appears here, Mr. Su will also arrest these people for the crime of luring minors to gamble. Speaking of which, these people were scared and didn't dare to touch Sok Chi-young anymore after arriving at the base. Sang John told Sok John to wait here and prepare to buy some drinks. But tonight there is a show of roasted noodles, so I can only send a message wishing the roasted noodles good luck. Since entering the prison, the 3rd District contractor Ozen Company has blocked the contact number of the Su. My brother went to John and called forever, only received one message. That is, they will not cooperate anymore because Trang Su is related to my Tui. He looked at it and knew that this bastard was trying to hold his upper hand. So he immediately told John one of the guys had to disappear. The first person to handle this that the page thought of was Sok John. So John immediately called Sok John inside. Even though he was in a hurry to see you, Trang Su directly asked Sok John, "How much can you be willing to do for me?" Sok John didn't know what he was talking about. He just pulled out his knife, which made Sok John feel that something was wrong. Trang Su is trying to finish off his brother in the past. Forcing Sok John to finish off Tae Hun silently made him extremely awkward. As for Mi Rang, after completing her shift, she was called back by the manager. Tell her that the president of this theater wants you to come in and sing a song for him. He praised her very much, but Mi Rang was extremely worried and a little scared. In order to continue working, she also took all her courage inside. But standing in front of the numbness, she still didn't dare to come into contact with him at all. Tae Hun introduced himself as the owner of this theater. At the same time, she is also a big fan and subscriber to her Singing Small Room channel. Hearing this, Mi Rang had the courage to sit down and listen to the numbness speak. He talked about having a wealthy family that often invests in artists who become celebrities. He considers the fact that talented people must also have money to be called art. To put it bluntly, I just wanted to invest in fried eyelashes. He just wanted to get closer to her. Tae Hun asked if I could hear her sing a song of her own. Mi Rang was a little nervous, but also began to sit on the piano that the piano sang. Tae Hun's expression was extremely enjoyable. The possibility of falling in love with her was gone. After she finished playing, Tae Hun said that her voice was really stirring and wanted to invite her to roast a cup. As soon as she refused, she was detained. The fact that he always hits his eyelashes makes Tae Hun feel uncomfortable just because he behaves like a rogue. Mi Rang immediately refused to say that she already had a boyfriend. Seeing my boyfriend roast, keep calling. Tae Hun ordered his brother to turn off the phone. Outside, the squirrel soon came here to pick up his lover. Because I can't call for roasted noodles. The juniors saw the squirrel and lied that she had finished her shift and had been back for a long time. The manager was scared and hid under the table. He pretended to be looking for a cigarette but to fight back and did not answer the squirrel's question. Tae Hun began to pull out a large pile of money. If you want to roast your eyelashes, you will sometimes come to him like this and sing privately. The money in front of him is considered as remuneration and there will be more in the future. But the roasted eyelashes are not someone who can be bought with money. The girl often refused to leave, but the younger brother stopped her. Numbness also does not make it difficult for the person you like. Tell him to just let the roasted noodles leave. On the way back, feeling extremely small in this world, I couldn't hold back my tears. When she arrived, she only found that the squirrel had been waiting for her there the whole time. Just like that, she rushed over and gently grabbed the squirrel. It's good that you're here. The squirrel doesn't understand much. But seeing himself as a solid support for his lover also makes him happy. Remembering that year, when the squirrel went to the school to deal with the bullies of her, one by one, he was left to live without dying. Then smashed all the phones that dared to record the scene of undressing the roasted eyelashes. Because of that, the squirrel was called to the superintendent's office. The teacher told him that if he didn't tell the reason, the other party would sue and my life would be ruined. At that time, the squirrel didn't care how far his life went, even if he went to run for the wind and go to the moon. As long as he touches the person he loves, he will defiantly do everything. The next day at SOC his house, seeing her sister lying here lazily like this, SOC High was extremely troubled. She asked me if I didn't go home to visit my son or if I would leave him in the closet and then visit him. Soxy, he wanted to do a lot of things, but because Soxy didn't believe it, she didn't dare to say anything. She told her sister or let her go about that casino. Now I don't play cards anymore, but I will go to pawn papers for others to play money. That is also very profitable. SOC High did not agree because making money in those ways was not worth it at all. I don't know what kind of money to make. Suddenly, the owner of the casino sent a message to Mr. SOC. From now on, I won't contact you anymore. You have nothing to do with that casino either. After the message from my brother's best friend arrived. Wishing you a great day with good luck. After Mr. Su finished texting the right sentence, he smiled happily as if he was crazy. The mood was always better than usual. Arriving at the company, Trang Su called the squirrel inside to make a plan and open a new bottle of wine. He planned when he finished handling the Hun before opening it. But now the page wants to open up first to warm up the brotherly feelings. Then through this glass of wine, see what the squirrel's attitude is towards me. Knowing that Ti-hun and Trang Su are constantly fighting with each other. But the squirrel told his grandfather that he couldn't do the murder. The squirrel looked extremely dumbfounded. Lin kicked him out immediately. Sang John also asked permission to follow to comfort the squirrel. Ask him if he keeps standing in the middle like this. The amount of 100 million that the grinder wants to borrow is no longer there. Do you understand? SOC-tron wondered why Sang John had just told him that it was the 3rd district. It has been robbed and gone. What can I do to lend money to my uncle anymore? That's why the chairman wants the squirrel to go and slaughter. Such a thing cannot be done by a squirrel. He got angry and started smashing things around him and left. Roasted noodles on the way to my mother's nursing home. She received a phone call from the theater manager. Said that she had a very good performance yesterday and wanted to come here to work as soon as possible. But because of yesterday's expression, Mi Rang flatly refused and would not go there to do it again. Coming to Hun felt that the more difficult it was to get right, the more he was extremely interested. Coming to the nursing home, now Mi Rang no longer witnesses the crowd, so she is very sociable with everyone. The younger brother at the company talked to his senior and told him that he had called the singer in the singing room to his own room. I was curious to know who that person was that made the chairman so interested. Hearing the name Roasted Eyelashes makes me feel uncomfortable. Lin came in to talk to Ti-hun about this. Ti-hun saw his brother come here to talk about the singer who had a boyfriend. He didn't care much because anyone would steal it. But I heard that the name of my boyfriend was a squirrel. Now he is no different from crap, even my wife's wife is also interested. At the hospital, SOC High called the next patient to be examined. But this friend just saw that SOC she seemed to be immediately hit by the sound of falling in love with her. He looked at Soxy for a while until she called before he woke up. Then go inside to examine the herniated areas. It seems that this friend is passionate about a strong and athletic sport. I have had cruciate ligament surgery before, so I have to treat it for a long time. Hearing that, the patient didn't even bother to sing. Already excited, he turned to praise SOC High in front of her lover. Such a friendly nurse must be a good thing to go to the hospital regularly. Seeing others keep looking at their lover. Di Hong began to feel jealous and immediately asked the patient to leave early because the examination was over. This sick person still wants to open the door for squirrels. Then, as soon as I went out, I wanted to make an appointment to see her again and complimented her for contacting her. SOC High also felt very happy because this person was young and already knew how to distinguish between birth girls. The lover must have felt that she was jealous before when Di Hong called her and SOC High just friends. It's true that what kind of person would flirt with a nurse? SOC High said that you are really beautiful. I was very jealous, but I couldn't do anything. SOC High had just entered her lover's table to clear the table when she discovered that there was a ticket to see music. Di Hong had just gone out to go to the toilet and couldn't let Sohee see that ticket. Hurriedly ran back to the room to see, but the squirrel outside opened the door, startling him. Looking at such a worried and hurried expression, SOC she couldn't help but suspect that her lover had something hidden behind her back. And Ms. SOC Kyung received good news from the Umbrella Brother. If you see anyone related to the casino, just let me know. On the way I went, I was told by you. SOC Kyung also had to admit from the moment this brother appeared. Those guys don't come here to look for me anymore. But he heard the monk in front of the house. Sister Kyung hurriedly went out to see if it was the real brother outside. She asked what was the reason why the master was so kind to her. What else is there but your great and long-term love for me? So Si-kyung sounded like nothing. But when she entered the house, she felt a little vibration in her heart. During lunch with her lover, Soc Hai asked if he was busy on the 28th. "I want to travel with you." Di Hong immediately agreed without hesitation, making the squirrel think that he was the only one in his lover's heart. Later, he said that he was busy because he had a class meeting with a friend. It's true that the male father must be cheating on anyone outside, so he doesn't tell the truth. Squirrel John because he has no money at the company. He brought his payroll to the bank to ask if he could raise capital. For each crime, he did not have social insurance to simulate, so he also failed. Just came out in a sad mood. Seeing that everyone had gathered in a place, John stopped by there to see. "I saw my eyelashes happily singing with my friend here." John's heart suddenly felt much lighter. Not to mention that everyone is extremely responsive, and most importantly, she is no longer afraid to sing in front of others. After singing, Squirrel John exclaimed with his eyelashes. It's true that singing outdoors is much better than second. Eyelashes also expressed that she would not go to that theater in the near future. She wanted to go somewhere else for a better experience. Other things, although she didn't have them, would definitely succeed if she made an effort. Seeing that his lover was so good, he couldn't help but rub her head to comfort her. "It's lucky that you're here with me." Her eyelashes heard that. She knew that her lover was under pressure. Immediately kissed John's squirrel a few times. But the two lovers were also photographed by a paparazzi man. At the Squirrel John's house, Trang Hai went to his father to talk about something. In the past, every time there was an awkward plan, he had to make a regretful decision. Trang Su listened to the chairman's words and came here to meet him. Ask him to give me some ideas on how to see how it is. Now Zhang Su couldn't stand it anymore. So the chairman immediately called the num. I thought he would have to talk to someone. Tae-hun's listening page was suddenly more tense than ever. But Squirrel John is enjoying a happy date with his lover. Immediately he was called by Zhang Su to tell him that he would have to go to see Tae-hun. "This guy has already discussed it with your father, so let's go to the meeting point right away." Squirrel John apologized for his teeth because he still had work to do. She was a little worried, and she said that after this she would definitely quit. At the spicy stir-fried noodle shop that night, the presidents of the two sides sat together and couldn't help but be nostalgic for the old memories. The page goes straight to the point. "I don't want to get into trouble with my brother anymore," and ask him to make peace. But looking at John's face underneath the numbness, he couldn't help but intend to cause trouble with him. Sang John was about to get up and do a few right lines. However, this is an important matter, so the embassy only wants to negotiate peace. He wanted to ask for one last numbness. I poured him a cup, and it was as if the two of them were starting to be brothers again. "You've already pointed out your hand." Tae-hun held the wine glass in his hand and looked at the Squirrel John. Then he took a sip of half a cup and began to stand up. Squirrel John took a breath and was surprised because he was numb and spat out all the wine. "If you want to say some words of forgiveness, you must at least buy Western wine. Drinking soju just makes me crazy and reminds me of the old days." It was Jin Jiangsu who did this to create a contradiction. The master who had just stood up was stabbed by a person. "I didn't expect this senior guy to be even crazier than telling you to do it. Buying knives is not enough." Squirrel John had to stand up to stop the numbness to collect the hot goods. That's it. Trang Su, since his father gave birth to his mother, has never met anyone who has insulted him so much. He forced John to find a guy who was willing to do anything for money. The goal is to get rid of the numbness out of sight. So John went to find Duji and called him out privately to talk. The next day, I went to poetry class. Squirrel kept thinking about last night's scene between his two brothers. It wasn't until everyone left that Squirrel John slowly packed up. Mahjong sent a message through a song she composed herself. It made John's spirit pull back a little better. Talking for a while, John also praised Mahjong's song very well. She was as happy as a child telling the lyrics of the song that was composed by Squirrel John. It was in the old letter that Squirrel John had written to her. She was inspired by that letter to write this song. No wonder John is familiar with the sound of the squirrel. As soon as he came to the door, he saw his lover coming here to meet him. She didn't think that John would be in a place like this. "The squirrel told me not to tell anyone. But it is strange for a gypsy to go to write poetry. And now it's time for Mahjong to go to work." The two of them said goodbye and encouraged the other to try hard. Trang Su asked John if he had found someone. There was a person who came forward to accept the slaughter. But Jiang Su wanted that person to take action right away because he didn't want to wait any longer. Catch John, you have to quickly raise your hand. Tae-hun stood in front of his sister at the funeral home. I'm sorry I couldn't be as honest as I wanted to be. At that time, Tae-hun was extremely innocent and loved life when he had an extremely lovely sister. Always take him out as a specimen to paint. Seeing his brother in front of him always has a happy smile. Sir John advised me to live an honest and happy life like this. It is true that memory always makes me feel warm every time I remember it. When he got to work, SOC High called SOC John to report that the eldest sister wanted to go back to the casino. Yesterday, I also asked to go to work as a pawn guard of all kinds. SOC High had a plan to make it impossible for SOC Kyung to escape. That is what makes the eldest sister entangled in the love pig. The weapon that the two of them have is the rabbit friend. At this time, the sleeping squirrel appeared with a fresh appearance. Coming home to meet her lovely son and biological mother looks quite happy. But her father appeared with a jaw-dropping expression. Living to be in his early 40s, this is probably the first person who is still so afraid of being spanked by his father. Fortunately, it was just a dream. So Si-kyung is woken up by a phone. When she answered the phone, her sister told her to take her son over to meet her. In the village compartment, there were some bills she took with her and went to see her son. Hitting the psychology of missing her child, SOC Kyung is also looking forward to it. Squirrel John came home to pick up his nephew. This Hong Gun knows that he can go out now, so he is also very happy. Catching Squirrel John picked up the boy to play airplane games and then set off to play and go to his sister's house. Hong Gun was surprised to be able to go out with his mother again today. The boy had missed his mother for too long. It was indeed her sister's plan that was really effective. On the contrary, SOC High is still always suspicious of her lover. She went to her room to look at the calendar and saw that Di-hong wrote on the 28th that she would go to a class meeting. She was about to mine the ticket, but it was just in time to go to Hong to return. Looking at her lover so straightforwardly, Sox's heart couldn't be calm even for a second. It's really exciting. If you catch it, you will know your hand. As soon as she came outside, a nurse called SOC High back. The prolapse of the cushion was finished, and Nim wanted to see her. Seeing this sister's face, SOC High was annoyed with her lover, so she also began to quarrel with her sister. If you are uncomfortable, let me give you a few shots and leave. The sister was suddenly angry and slashed the cutting board. No one suffers as much as me. John's parents were cleaning the garden together at home when they received a letter from the bank. The bank will collect the real estate as a debt that the eldest son of SOC High reported to borrow. Broke the question, but he didn't speak. He said it was John Squirrel's thing. As for my Rang, when she had just finished her shift to teach piano, she received a call from the XN Entertainment Company saying that she wanted to meet to negotiate with my Rang about becoming a singer. Meanwhile, at Tae-hun's company, the juniors brought a list of this month's collection establishments to report. Tae-hun noticed a place that did not collect money, and asked him to tell him that it could not be collected because it was in the territory of Changsu. That place was also about to collapse, so I didn't pay attention to it. Seeing Tae-hun's serious look, he immediately apologized. And Num told the juniors to go there to collect money and trample on Chang's self-esteem. The juniors immediately left after receiving the order. But the squirrel on this side let his sister fall into the pig of love, invited his friend Mr. Su to hang out with him and his sister to be a bridge of love for the two. After playing, Mr. Su also took the initiative to buy 2 cotton candies to give to the mother and daughter of SOC Hyong. She was worried and told me that you could eat if you didn't eat. Mr. Su's brother with too much love said that it was okay for the two of them to eat together. John Squirrel also told her that she should eat better than watch a black guy eat alone. After saying that, he called Mr. Su aside. My sister has given it to you, loincloth friend. The 3 of you just go out and have fun. What this Mr. Su can do, it's the right person you liked for a long time. Just as he was about to leave, Sang John called to inform SOC John that the nightclub in Dong Dong was having some conflict. I want John the Squirrel to stop by and see. When John the Squirrel arrived, he only saw his juniors and Tae-hun's men standing in front of the door. He just called out to John and he stopped in the face. He didn't fight. The people on the grinder side were interested in what this nightclub was about to collapse for. It was also very awkward, but because of the president's intentions. The long-haired brother only knows how to follow. Squirrel John realized that he wanted to fight because of this. Telling your brother to pick you up has already complicated your life, but go back and tell him not to make trouble anymore. Repeating the verbatim words he told my uncle, he just led the juniors to leave. If you don't have money, don't get tired of these thugs. Going downstairs, Squirrel John called the juniors to quickly go up and do business. The long-haired, mustachioed guy told John that the chain hadn't come all day, and the dude still has a disability. Borrowed everywhere and stayed in the red and black casino all day. To the point of being beaten. Fortunately, a squirrel appeared to protect him, and Douchey just ran away. Now John has to worry about this vengeful brother again. The chain ran back and forth everywhere. But what kind of run? After falling yourself, you will be caught. Fortunately, John the squirrel with the car appeared at the right time. Doucher ran up after him to get rid of the debt collectors. SOC John, after saving my brother, asked you if you are a gypsy without self-respect. Tired of this guy going to borrow money, Squirrel John chased him out of the car and just drove away. And Mahjong, according to the advice of the entertainment company, went to meet the manager of this company to talk about work. When asked if Mahjong is also composing music, is it true? The company is looking for some artists or singers with talent like Mahjong here. Help her become a real singer through a transparent contract to work together. Mahjong is about to be released as a singer. To her great surprise, because she didn't think she was so lucky, Squirrel John went home and reported to John. Knowing that Taehun's people dared to come here to obstruct John, he thought that the two sides would definitely not be able to make peace with each other. Squirrel John only knew that, but he couldn't do anything. And his father also had an equal headache when he had to tell his wife that this house would be seized by the bank. His wife could not hand over this house to the bank and then go to rent an apartment anymore. This place contains many memories of 3 children. Although the husband didn't want it very much, he only had to pay it to the bank in the end. After receiving the news that she would be a singer, Mahjong happily told SOC John. Then I went to the nursing home with him to tell my mother this news immediately. But when she arrived at the nursing home, after she and Mahjong received the news that her mother was losing control, it wasn't until she showed up that she began to calm down. Seeing the scene of 2 mothers and daughters loving them like this, SOC John also felt very sad. He only knew how to close the door so that the 2 of them could be a little private with each other. After talking, Mahjong told me about the past when she asked her mother where she was going. Mom also just laughed without speaking, and then led Mahjong to a piano shop. She is also a gifted person. Having chosen a certain instrument with the best sound and promised her mother something, she no longer remembers. Looking back now, I am worried that I will not be able to promise my mother the promises I made in the past. On the 28th, SOC Hai began to follow her lover when she discovered that he was with the daughter of the sanatorium. She wanted to go in to catch her mistress, but was stopped by the people here and forced her to queue. Also, because there are no tickets, SOC Hai can only sit outside and wait to catch the cheats. As time passed continuously, the people kept laughing and looking at SOC Hai, making her angrily ask the security guard what he was laughing at. It must have made him laugh a lot to see someone who had to cheat like her. Every crime of threatening people, but SOC she was immediately kicked out by the guards. She also knew nothing but to be annoyed when she saw her lover go with someone else after visiting her mother at the nursing home. SOC John brought his lover to the company to work. He didn't even forget to hug and comfort his lover, wishing her good luck and then coming home. But on the way back, Squirrel John accidentally met the former chairman who was protesting in the 3rd Ward. So the 2 of them went to the garden of the old president of the 3rd Ward together to let him talk about the old story. Squirrel John, the little girl, and the wife of an old acquaintance also thanked Squirrel John very much for saving the life of the little girl's father. By the way, I have already come here, so I also invite Squirrel John to eat and drink with everyone here. The chairman said that the people here are all people who have been deprived of their homes and have nowhere to go. Then it became a community like what Squirrel John saw. After the meal, the chairman urged John to leave the gangsters. Squirrel John said that he also pulled out one leg and soon withdrew the other leg if there was anything he needed help with. The old president of the 3rd Ward would always be willing to help SOC John, Di Hong, and the abbot's daughter after going to see music together. When she was invited to dinner with her, Di Hong immediately felt different and admitted to Jin He that she couldn't go. It's not that he doesn't like her and he doesn't hate her. Di Hong admits that she already has a lover and is engaged to someone, refusing Jin He's kindness and immediately running outside to call her lover. I thought he liked to be a father, but he didn't expect that he was also a brother. Seeing her lover calling, the squirrel was in no mood and went to drink alone. I didn't expect that the boy who was sung by Renjiang was also here and came to sit with SOC He. This friend looked at it and knew that he had won the love test with Squirrel He. After that, I asked her if she wanted to drink with me. Di Hong called her all the time but to no avail. This friend didn't expect to drink a little poorly. SOC he cried out that he couldn't drink, so don't try. Seeing that Di Hong kept calling this friend, he was also curious to ask her lover. Jiang He didn't say much and picked up her phone. Said that he was the lover of the squirrel and then turned off the phone. That's enough, my uncle. SOC he also didn't want to make a mistake himself, so he left first and paid him for the wine. The old man's friend is still going out to eat with her sister. The boy saw that the house next door was full of both parents and asked her when she could come back to him. In order to iron the squirrel, he only knew how to tell his mother that he would come home soon. The boy excitedly asked his mother if she could come to the parent meeting with him. Although it is a little difficult, Ms. Kyung can only temporarily agree, just so that the boy doesn't feel sad. On the way home to the mother and daughter, the bee looked at the two of them and felt extremely happy. It was like he was bringing his own wife and children back. Although he did not miss leaving his child. The monk asked her to go back first when she fell asleep. Because if he wakes up, I can't leave him. So the squirrel could only thank the monk for today. Looking at the car leaving, she could only stand there sobbing. Squirrel remembered the president's advice to leave the world back in the afternoon. His heart is also very watchful when on one side is his family and on the other side is brotherhood. SOC she was also in a bad mood today. Just go home and lie lazily in bed. Seeing her sister like that, Ms. SOC Kyung also went to lie down exactly the same. Hong Nan when he was brought home. The boy burst into tears when he couldn't see his mother. Mr. Su had to advise the boy to tell him that he was just having a nightmare. In the evening, Mi Zhang still goes to work at a coffee shop. The paparazzi found out about her workplace and took a picture and sent it to Tae-hun. He immediately asked his brother to give him the car and told him to leave early. Go to that dream cafe. Tae-hun directly ordered an exclusive cup of Americano Mi Giantfer. Then called her aside to talk. Because he needed money, he was called by Sangjeon. If you need money, doing this one is enough. After a month, it is okay to confess. The young man didn't think much of it. Sangjeon told him that this time the person he had to kill was Kang Tae-hun. But this side of the horse was talking to Mi Zhang about wanting to use money to buy her dream. In return, you just need to drink a few cups of coffee with him like this. I heard that he still wanted to